Okay.
And Keith is going to pause me in particular, but anyone who, if he needs a second to type.
Already now, I was saying like, get on to the subjects, you guys sometimes start going.
Yeah.
Sure. So we'll start with a review of the November 16th meeting minutes. And the ones that Keith sent out today have some updates that people had already sent.
Yes, it's mainly what Lillian.
Okay.
I just had some typo type stuff.
Okay.
On page 1, under item number 3A, there's an A and then there's another A.
Yeah. I must have been feeling Canadian.
And then in that same paragraph, the last sentence, the last line, greater use of the AVI equipment should just
AV.
AV.
Yeah.
Under item C, the second line from the bottom,
Suit.
Conval suit with NH state to explain the various, I wasn't sure what you meant there. You mean the state of New Hampshire or?
You tell me.
I think state of New Hampshire
Yeah.
would.
Yeah,
Be
that's what it
accurate.
would be.
I wasn't sure if you meant like the state of New Hampshire or to state, to make a statement.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And then that same letter, but on the next page, the last sentence, it says possible twice, possible using slides to describe each of these possibilities. I didn't know if there
Did
was.
on an exam these for the business?
It's still number 3,
Oh,
C.
but I mean,
Maybe options instead of possibilities.
Is it the last full paragraph before 4, or is it paragraph?
It's the one above.
Okay.
Possible using slides to describe that one.
Yeah, each
Oh,
of
yeah.
these possibilities, just maybe options instead of possibilities. And
options.
just in general, there's 2 sentences in that paragraph that are really long. I just kind of read.
Yeah, probably as you were.
I'm sure you were typing as we were talking, and yeah. I didn't know if there was a way to break it into.
I think as long as you there, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then in that same paragraph. The 3rd line down.
Yeah.
Which could also be outlined as neutral as possible. Should that be a period or a comma? I feel like that should be a period when I read it.
Yeah, that could be a period. And that would break up that sentence.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah, I think it's meant to. So, got it.
That's it for me. Other than these little lines on the side, but I'm sure that's where you edited.
Yep. Also, I got the page numbers on them as well. Any other comments?
None for me.
No, not for me.
All right, is there a motion to approve as amended?
I move.
Okay, Lillian and Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? All right. Thank you. Keith, do you need us to give you a minute before we continue on?
Honestly, it's off. You just need to make it, so. Who motioned? Was it?
I did.
Lillian and Bill seconded. Okay. So the next up on the agenda is it's titled the school conversation event, but I will try my best to give an update about where things are. So the school board has voted to, they accepted Prismatic's report, which is my understanding just meant Prismatic could get paid. And then they followed up with a warrant article. And I do not have the language of that, but it's to close 4 schools, which is Temple, Francistown, Dublin, and Bennington, 4 elementary schools, which would require changing the articles of agreement. So that will be voted on in March. They are having several different forums, which is required for a warrant article. And one of those is specifically for the residents of those 4 towns. And so that is happening a week from tonight, so Thursday, the 18th, at Conval. I guess auditorium. Mhm.
Meetings, are they having, if you say?
I think I have seen 3, but I don't, that could be hearsay.
And the mailer that just came out, there was the one next week for the 18th.
Oh.
And then there's the one, February 9th. Something like that, and that's for community, invited all communities. Right, to attend, one of the 18th, yeah.
There was an article in the mail today as well.
Well, I think that's what she was referring
Yeah.
to. That's what Vivian was referring to.
Yeah.
That
I meant to bring it. with
mailer, I meant
You can
to,
just maybe attach it, Keith.
yeah.
And I didn't read beyond that. They actually mentioned the meeting on the 4th of January, which was already passed, or something like, something that was earlier.
Mhm.
But whether there was another one mentioned past that February, this was all very, very fast.
Right.
this afternoon.
And
Pushing it real.
yes, very fast.
Mhm.
I think there are some informal groups, I think primarily folks in Dublin and Francistown that are really organized. I've seen some people say that if this passes, those towns would try to pull out of the district, you know, how. I know I've done a lot of research and something like that would have to be approved by the New Hampshire Board of Education. So I don't know how much research they've done into all of the process, but it sounds like they're certainly pursuing it. You know, I think there's, I don't know if it's a formal group here in Temple, but I know there are people who are like trying to organize. And so I think the question is, you know, what does our group, you know, the CAC want to do? I think it's still a good idea to have like some sort of Temple. I don't want to call it a forum. I don't want it to be that formal, but just a chance for people to come and express their opinions and views. I have spoken with Liz Swan about that. And at first she had said that she would be available just, you know, to provide information. I think, I don't know if she would still be available. I think if depending on how, yeah, I just don't know. I haven't run the new date by her. I talked to Tim Iwanowitz, the principal at Temple Elementary, and he, the previous date we had when it was going to be on the 18th, which now it can't be on the 18th because the Conval thing is on the 18th. He said he would be willing to come to answer questions of, you know, fact, like how many students are currently at Temple, you know, what are the specials like? Just because I think a lot of this conversation is like, well, when I was there, you know, and sometimes things that happen, you know, 20 years ago versus 10 years ago versus now, it kind of all gets meshed together. So he would be able to say, this is what's happening now. You know, but he was very careful to say he can't express his opinion or advocate for anything. So I can run the new date by him if people think that it would be helpful to have Tim in attendance. I think the, the PTT at TES, there is no parent leader, so it's really the staff at Temple that's running the PTT at this point. From my experience, talking to other people and myself, there's just so few parents and, that I think no one has the capacity really to take that on. Which, to me is part of the whole, the bigger situation. So, yeah, I guess that's sort of my overview of where we're at. Vivian, I know you've been plugged in. Do you want to say more or have things to add?
I'll add some ways that I've been getting plugged in. The Facebook group that has appeared, Kentucky Valley through, I can't remember the name. The person who I think spearheaded that, named John Wood. So I did have a conversation with him the other day. I was really going to try to get to the one meeting on the 7th, which was what? No, God, what am I thinking? It's my daughter's birthday. No.
That you mentioned the 4th a minute ago.
Yeah,
Was that
there's
it?
one on the 2nd, and that's when I was going to get to as well. And I think that there was a question as to whether anybody could have any comment or anything like that, but I couldn't attend it. I really just wanted to touch base with this person and see what kind of moving ahead. I have a real desire to somehow be another conduit, and I don't mean to say the conduit or something. It's not just that it just grabs me at the heart. It's just that there's a lot to understand. There's a lot to comprehend. I was going to suggest that for our date of what we would like, Tim is a great voice to have in there from current status at TES. If you'd like, I could reach out to John Wood, who has a lot of data. But if it's not appropriate, believe me, that's just something for us to discuss and decide. And I'm not totally in favor of having anything lean towards one side or another. So if that's seeming like it's leaning towards, too much towards one side, there's also, I think it's Ellen Edelkind maybe, and Ellen, it might be that it's more appropriate to have a couple of different kind of viewpoints and availability of, but then you also don't want to just get to the point of having a lot of banter. But it was very informative to talk to John. One thing that he did mention, it is going to be proposed, I think, for the articles of agreement. Is a little hard to, I just hope I can explain it so it's like out there. He would like to, and a number of whatever group would like to suggest that the articles of agreement also would be reworded to say that this whole thing about shall and may in the articles of agreement, that right now it says that all the school district shall have elementary schools in each town, correct? Okay, so if they're going to pull out the 4, what they're going to suggest is that the articles of agreement should be changed to say may instead of shall, because that would leave, okay, we take 4 of them out, and then it means that the remaining towns are still in the shall category. He's not very hopeful that that kind of thing will go through, but I think it's a good point.
Yeah, well, and they tried to do that three years ago or so.
Yeah, was it last year or the year before? I just know that there was an attempt that failed.
Yeah.
The article,
Here it is.
article of agreement, what date is on that?
Of the current one?
Yeah.
It's like
1960 something.
So it is-
63, yeah. But just from the standpoint of facts and figures, he's done a lot of research and has a lot of information. I found it helpful, to just hear that. Cindy Connolly has also still been involved, but I've spoken to her directly about, what steps moving forward and roles and stuff like that. And I know that she's really, not in a position to like have a leadership role or something like that, but definitely is very involved. Oh, is that about where I have any information?
Well, it sounds like you,
I have one question. You mentioned that there was, I think it's a gentleman willing to discuss the school pupil numbers. And things like that.
Yes, it's a current TES principal.
Do you know his name?
Yes, Tim. And yeah, and Bill can spell his last name.
IWAN.
But he's the TES principal, you say?
Yes,
WITC.
I think CZ.
Tim,
It's easy.
what was that name?
Iwanowitz.
Oh,
We can maybe just put Tim I.
I'll find out.
yeah.
All right.
I was going to say, it sounds like there are a lot of people in town who have a lot of information. And I think this dovetails into our discussion from last time, where we could get people who want to be involved, who want to share information, who want to hear information in one place. And I think the term you came up with, Jess, was perfect, a conversation. It's not a forum, it's not anything specifically legal or representing the town, but it's a way for people to at least exchange all that information.
And I think one of my goals is, I realized that the most obvious thing is, whether or not these 4 elementary schools, including ours, would stay open. And, what Conval is saying is that if they close these elementary schools, there's going to be more resources for all students, but especially at the middle and high school level. So I would really like to understand what is currently lacking, both from Conval's perspective, at the middle school and high school level. And some of it is outlined in the Prismatic report, but it's at a very, very high level. And then what it is that how they're going to shore that up. I think that's if something, to me, it's, one, I have a student who will be in middle school next year. And, I think I told Gail, I said, I know more about the curriculum at the Wells School than I know about SMS. Like, you can't find anything online. And like Conval says nothing. I have no idea what's taught. And to me, that's a huge problem, because it could be wonderful. It could be terrible. And there's no way of knowing. And I'm about to, this morning I was like, I need to make an appointment with SMS to go do a tour. And like, I just don't understand why there is so little information on what's happening.
And
So
why there's such a big emphasis on the lack of what the resources are.
yes, yeah,
What are they missing out on that could possibly be beefed up
right,
by the closure of course, or whatever all the move is.
yeah.
Right, and does it mean it's at the expense of the elementary schools?
Right, exactly. And then I also saw in the Prismatic report, which I'm not advocating for anything, I'm really trying to look at this in a balanced way. But the, Temple, especially in the ELA testing, which I take testing scores with a grain of salt, but Temple is not performing well. So there's this idea that small schools equals better performance, but that is not what the data has been showing for the past several years. So Conval is saying, well, it's because there's not a reading specialist there full time to work with students who need additional help and some of those things. I don't, to me, that's a jump, but it was pretty surprising how poorly Temple was performing compared to some other schools.
And yet Francistown came up on top.
Did
Yeah,
they?
and so when Michael was there, TES was one of the top performing
Okay.
schools.
And so I
So
think,
I don't know what's changed.
and it, I mean, with such a small sample,
Right,
you can
right.
have one or two kids who
Right.
have,
It's not fair to.
right, and it can
Mhm.
change a
That's-
significant
That ratio?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's too small a sample to say that.
right, which is, right, which is like, this thing is sticking out, and it's like, well, if there was a full-time reading specialist, then it would be different, and it's like, well, but if it was bigger, like, there's just so many questions about like what that data actually means.
And I'm trying to do the same thing and stay balanced, and there's these two sides of the coin, and I get that, but there's this trusting thing in me that's being very challenged right now. As far as trusting the verbiage and whatever's coming out. But the second side of that flyer that came out had those rhetorical questions that keep getting asked. One of them was, and I try to deal with this and just calm down, because it gets me really fired up. But there was the one that suggested something about, what about the residents that can't afford to live there anymore, that have no children in school anymore, and they can't afford, and how are they, and they're being forced to move from the town that they want to live in and retire in and live out the rest of their days because of these budget increases or
Terrible.
something.
I thought that was.
And I was like, I'm
You're
sorry.
kidding. I didn't see
That
that.
triggered me
That-
too when I.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
Tammy now.
So how are they trying to, present?
They present that, there are.
People are forced to move
Forced to
because our
move.
schools are too small, and that people that don't have kids in the
And
school
yeah,
can't
the
afford it.
people who have kids in school and stuff, they also in the front side.
Yeah, who said that? Was it Prismatic?
I think it was
Or the
Alan
s-
Edelkind and.
or the school board?
Yeah, there was.
Page. I don't think it
Oh,
was
oh,
official.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love to know who actually wrote, who was
Yeah.
the author, number one, of the, you know, if it was truly an amazing combined effort, that's really amazing. But you know, who is the author, and on the front side too, when it comes to being transparent and everything, I'll shut up.
No, I get it, because when I read that, I was like, some of the responses were like, okay, and then I saw that and I was like, no, you just lost me, I don't trust anything anymore.
But on the front, getting towards the bottom, it mentioned some community member who has been presenting data to them. A community member.
Yeah, sometimes it only takes one person.
But
Throw a
I'm just
hand
saying,
grenade
why-
into a
why would
situation.
you even say that?
Right, oh, I know, one, talk about a
Yeah.
small sample.
Right.
I was just like, who are you talking about? Is that okay that you did not name this person, or, you know, what was the
Right.
point of even saying that?
Right, they,
Which like
whoever
the
wrote,
statements where
whoever
you
wrote-
say, oh, I've heard it said.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I,
So,
yeah, and like, what, I feel like things I have said could have been interpreted as that, and it's like, but no, you know, it's like people, you know, the cost of living and tax increases is a
Well, it's
concern.
a lot of factors.
But that's not like
So
to
anyway,
make that
Well,
causation.
Mhm.
I'll try and calm down. That just hit me like right before I came to this meeting.
Yeah,
So a couple of things. One is, I think, when you're talking about rushing, I think the state of New Hampshire, the RSA, set the dates for when they have to have hearings for warrant articles. So that's probably why it feels rushed, because there are dates to be cut off. That, you know, the stuff has to be submitted and gone through legal and all of this stuff. I'm wondering, back to your conversation about the PTT not having leadership, so they're not really a body that could take on a bigger project around this, but I wonder, there was somebody, a young couple that came up to us at the Harvest Festival who doesn't have kids in the school yet, but chose Temple because
right, I remember them.
I wonder if a family like that or them might be interested in, because I think she said she wasn't working. She's a full-time mom now, and their baby was what, like 1 or 2? I mean,
Yeah, little.
little,
Yeah.
but if it's important to them, maybe they'll want to get involved in some way, so maybe.
So even from the preschool standpoint.
Yeah, just reaching out to maybe,
Right. I did hear.
Can you remember who that was?
I think Jessica has their, do you have their contact info? Okay.
I did just hear from.
I
Gretchen
know
today
you're talking about.
PTT, just in having an after school activity kind of thing that she's wondering about. So
Yeah.
obviously there, you know, there's not leadership there, but there's.
Yeah,
There's a pool of younger families or
right.
couples that might be interested in, you know, getting involved in some way.
Yeah,
I typically be new families which have just moved here.
Right. Right.
and I think also we do need a new school board rep. Liz is not planning to continue running, so that might be something else to bring up at this event. You know, Temple needs a rep. If you're
Yeah,
interested,
yeah.
you should, consider that soon to the end.
I have to say that even, just the. Even just getting more connected with this and feeling like could there be an instrumental part? It definitely calls for some real big changes and moving along. So I can't juggle.
It's a big
Yeah,
commitment. It's a lot of
It's-
meetings.
Yeah,
And,
a lot.
It's amazing. You guys came up with the dual chair kind of thing. I'm definitely looking at doing this, but I haven't fully, maybe some of you haven't said anything, but I'd like to suggest that for rec and Ladies Aid. We just, it was suggested our last voting period to not have a chair. And
Mhm.
it's a, there is a name for it, anyway. But it's a very big change. And it just means that one person is not feeling so overloaded and
Mhm.
overweighted with.
I think,
I'm sorry, is this the person by any chance?
I don't remember.
Okay, because I know she's recently moved into town, she had a baby last May and.
Possibly.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, because she was heavily involved in Preservation Alliance.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's how I got her name, and she was interested in the Historic District Commission, but she was about to have a baby and.
right.
So I haven't reached out since then.
I would try.
Yeah.
And so several people have asked me if I would consider running a school board rep, and there's just no way. But in those conversations, and Liz is one of those people, and she was like, what if you split the role? So I think there's definitely the openness to having a I don't know, like you could talk to Liz about what that would look like.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. 'Cause-
Yeah,
And would it even be allowable?
Right, that's what I'm wondering.
Can, I was gonna say, can I ask a very basic question? How
Yeah.
many people are on the school board?
one from every town.
Okay, so it's one, so we get equal representation in voting. Okay, so if you had two people, you would have to.
You would only vote for one.
Right.
But I
okay.
think just the number of committees that have to, I think Liz is on like 5 different committees, so.
Oh, okay.
Some of that work might be able to be split, but you would still only.
So
get one
low.
vote.
Okay.
Yeah,
One
that
rep. I-
Person is just, it's like a one.
Yeah,
It's the only thing you can do in life.
yeah, Liz has said it's 20 to 30 hours a week, so like for anyone who's working. And a lot of the committee meetings are during the day, like 10 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. And so, I think there's maybe one current parent at the school who might consider it. If it's a dual thing, I could talk to you about that offline if you wanted me to make that connection, but yeah.
Between that and then Bill and Val is a real good conduit right now
Mhm.
in participation.
He's beginning to step back a little way though on select board and things like that. So-
Yeah.
Yeah, but is it,
No, I think she's talking about in terms of the school.
No, so he might.
Just in general, you
Each-
may
each
not want to
select
take on
board-
more.
no,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just from having somebody who can give information, like if we're having a conversation night kind of thing.
So, yeah, and I guess my thoughts on that, like, I'm curious what other towns are doing, and so I guess it's not a bad idea if we're gonna have somebody from Dublin come, but I would also think maybe somebody from Francistown, somebody from the other towns affected too, just in case the question comes up, because
And
I'm curious what other towns.
And I think the role for that in our own conversation is just that maybe that person or these people can be sitting there, and if there's a question that just doesn't seem to be able to be answered by
Mhm.
those that we have, that they might be good people that have some information
Mm,
to
Yeah.
share, but not to be in any kind of a one-sided or, one side or
Yeah.
another.
Well, he's been pretty outspoken,
Yeah.
John, so I'm not sure,
Yeah,
it's pretty clear which side he's on.
And I think just, I wonder if we have someone like John Wood come, should we also invite, I think Alan Edelkind would probably be more likely to speak on behalf of the school board than Liz would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's why I mentioned it,
just to have,
Yeah,
Like-
some balance.
and maybe we even, I don't necessarily want it to be a panel discussion, but people who have been invited, who have points of information, who we could say, hey, would you take this question? Okay,
Yeah,
That's
John,
fine.
would you respond? Alan, would you also respond?
Right.
yeah, as long as
know.
it doesn't turn into a debate.
Right,
And
Yeah.
that's why it's a dicey kind of thing as far as the implication, but when it does come to something that could just be unanswered in a very important conversation that we're
Mhm.
having, it would be a shame to have them unanswered because there are some possible resources that could come.
would we want to do a quick Facebook poll, like, hey, the CAC is gonna host a school conversation? We can do it one of two ways. We can just have an open forum for people in our town to come and express your views, questions, comments, concerns. Or we can invite, strategically, somebody from the school board, somebody from this group who's, against this, somebody from the current TES administration, some people who have more knowledge, who might be able to answer questions. Obviously Facebook is not like a great, but just, if we could get
It would
something
be
in
quick.
48 hours, just
Yeah,
to be
it'd
like,
be
if people
quick.
are like, don't invite anyone from the school board, or like, the school board has to be that, like that, I
Right,
think would
yeah.
just give us.
Sure,
I think
Kind of
it
a
could
quick-
give us a basis of
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
reaction,
that's a good idea.
and that's a
Okay.
good idea.
You're saying that you were talking about a meeting here at the town hall.
yes,
I think a lot of people was there.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
Chance. Get out there,
Mhm.
nothing else.
I think, no,
Who gets tired?
Yeah,
Right, right.
and
And it gives,
someone
it's
might
a
have learned
positive.
too as the leader.
mhm,
Yeah, and it's a positive environment. It should be anyway, that they
Right.
can all give their opinions.
Says that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I think we're looking at Thursday, January 25th, so 2 weeks from today. So it would be 1 week after
and it's
the
hot
Conval.
right after that
Yep.
meeting on the 18th.
Yeah,
And are we,
You mentioned these state rules, so you're proposing what date for that?
Thursday, January 25th.
if we were to do a mailer, were you thinking of doing a mailer for
I
that?
don't think we have time.
Okay, yeah, that was my
What was the other
concern.
date that was mentioned?
The 18th, so next
Is the school
Thursday,
board.
that's the Conval School Board meeting with the 4 towns.
But I think if you put it on the Facebook page, word will get around very fast.
And
Okay,
it also
okay.
can then be through the emails. Alerts.
Yeah.
I think
E-news.
that's
E-news,
E-news.
E-news.
I do for the- Oh,
And Keith, those dates are on the agenda under upcoming meetings.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yeah.
and John is going to Jesus. Long time.
Mm.
So
So are you good with that, or?
I think so. I'm willing to moderate the event. But I'm not planning to do a presentation or anything of that sort. I think it's just, we can have some resources, we can have the language of the warrant Well,
I think that's a good idea, because then you're not biasing.
Yeah.
You keep, you know.
Yeah.
so
mhm.
Yeah, that's true, but then what is the format?
You don't want to format, you want to say this is an open discussion.
Yeah, I think I would say, you know, right.
It's got an agenda.
I think we would have the warrant article up on the screen and that's the only thing. And then this, you know, and I would either introduce, if we have certain people who have been invited, introduce them. And I would introduce them, probably not even let them introduce themselves to start out with.
Mhm.
And then just say, you know, this is an open conversation for Temple residents. You can voice your opinion, you can have comments, questions. If there's questions specifically for someone up here, you know, you can address them, or if you don't know who to address, I'll do my best to try to get it, you know, to the right person. But, you know, this is just a chance for the town to discuss this issue.
Mhm.
Like, that's it. It's a
No,
2-minute
no booths
introduction.
for anybody to go to with tokens to put in.
I know. I don't think we're doing it. Do you want to close the school or not? Let's do an informal.
Questions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll be
Okay.
away during that.
that's
time.
right. And I did talk with Ken and Bill. I haven't talked with George yet, but they said they both, you know, at the old date, they said they
Oh,
would be
the
there,
Yeah,
but I think they would make it, I think they would be
I'm
there.
sure they'll make, it. yeah.
And, you know, I was like, if things get out of hand, and they were like, yep, we got it.
That's good.
Jim McTagg can be there.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
mean, I'm not planning for a riot.
But I'm sure too, if you say something right at the outset, something like, you know, we have to be, you know, polite and respectful
personal
of each
attacks.
other. Yeah, no personal
Right.
attacks and all of that.
Yeah, and I might say something like, you know, I'm assuming we're all here because we care about our town and we care about education in our town.
Mhm.
And what makes for a good education could probably be a really healthy debate,
Yeah.
you know, but,
Yes.
you know, but we're all here because we care.
Should we have somebody to answer
The select board or the school board?
school?
Oh, that was one of the things that just mentioned.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
Alan Edelkind. Do you know Alan? He's from Dublin.
He's a target guy.
What do you mean?
It is a target, he'll, he goes for it hard,
Okay,
and this is for years, it's been a long time. But, you know, he pushes.
okay.
So he may not be the most.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that doesn't sound very positive to
And
me.
even when it comes to the John Wood, it's like, okay, well, maybe there's somebody that John could even suggest. That's not so, that hasn't been so out there
Mm.
name wise,
Mhm.
but,
No, he would love to speak. Okay, but he coming from this end where he put this together.
Yeah.
He's
Uh,
very much tied into this.
Mm.
And you'll have all the reasons, all the numbers out there,
Mhm.
all that, but. And they won't be supporting. Not having.
Right.
yeah, and that might color the discussion, I think. If we're telling people in Temple, we want you to come so that you have an open opportunity to
Yeah.
speak your mind and share ideas, I think that would dampen it.
Could be
Because it would
perceived that
be-
we're trying to.
Yeah,
influence.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is our representative,
Liz Swan.
would she be open-minded to hear what's this going, would she want to?
I can ask her. I mean, I think there's two things. There's, you know, just the scheduling. I don't know if the school board has something else scheduled on that night. And then, I think, you know, she has really encouraged people to contact her individually. And I think she's been nervous to have something that could, you know, she doesn't want to get some tomatoes thrown at her.
I just spell Alan Kind.
Edel, it's Alan,
E-D-E-L.
Alan is the first name, and Edelkind,
Yes, spell.
E-D-E-L.
I think it's
Oh,
EDEL.
I'll find it. EDD, anyway. It's like,
Just look on Facebook on the page.
I mean, Liz is probably the most educated on what people are saying in the book. So she sounds like, to me, should be an ideal candidate if we could get her to spend the time.
Or she wants to.
Well, that's, I think with her looking to retire from that position, she might look at it being a way for her to sort of basically say, well, this is his position. And she knows she's going to be out of there anyway.
See what she says.
Yeah, we'll see what she says.
Yeah.
I think first I'll post the Facebook question tonight just to see what people want.
Mhm.
Um,
And
and
also when it comes to Liz, you know, and just, no, I just wouldn't want to be pressuring, and if it is something that might even not be a date for her to be worked out with her, could she suggest?
Yes.
yeah, someone else from the school board.
That can-
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, and so publicity, I think I'll do this, I'll post on Facebook tonight. And then try to send out an e-blast like this weekend.
And how can that thread go through pretty, not forcefully, but strongly through the parent population?
I can post in the Temple face or the
I mean,
Temple
one thing
Elementary.
I'd really like to encourage is that it's really important for these young families, and I personally would like to have conversations on, you know, just as I would maybe get engaged with some people I know personally who
Mhm.
have chosen Lion. You know, and just, I would like to, I'm that kind of person where I really like to get.
Yeah.
I get very hot about things that I do.
Mhm.
But I also, in general, I like to seek.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'd really like to see a whole picture as much as possible.
right. Well, and I think that's a great point, Vivian. Like there are a lot of families who are homeschooling, like who are doing who have kids that are elementary age, but aren't at the public elementary school. And I think it would be really important to hear from them. You know, I don't know, you know, if they would feel comfortable
Mhm.
talking at a forum like this.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard several people like, oh, I'd like to know there's the option, you know, so I just don't know.
And what if a charter school was here, you know?
Right.
You know, would they, you know, there's so many different ways of looking at this, and I totally agree. You know, between, I usually shut down at 6 o'clock at night, so here, you're lucky I'm here tonight, but, you know,
All the
there's
school
people
board
that-
meetings are in the evening.
But I mean, you know, there's people that, you know, between kids and everything else have a really hard time. I don't think it's gonna be putting up a babysitter again.
Yeah,
Although I'd be totally open, you know, definitely, we probably have the same person available. So
mhm,
anyway, we need to move on.
okay. All right, so let's move on to safety.
This will be quicker.
So what we're doing now, we're moving it all underneath one subject instead of the 3 sections. We're just going to
Yeah.
say that we've got.
Yes. Ready for safety?
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, congratulations to the team. So, we were awarded the MAST grant. They have asked for us to put together a small task force to work with the folks from the MAST grant group. So, it'll be myself, Bill Torfey, because he has asked, he participated in putting together the proposal. They asked for a select board person, a representative, so Bill Azell will be on it. He and I spoke today.
Right.
And he suggested that Kent be on it also, because he knows the
Yeah.
roadways.
Really,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great group.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
yeah, that's
And-
super.
They asked for 5 people, right?
No, they said a maximum of 5.
So it's in Kent Perry.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we thought we would keep it at 4 initially.
okay, well, I was, I'm gonna suggest, I had a couple thoughts, Jim McTagg, but maybe that's unnecessary. He's working on the radar thing. There is,
No, he's not working on the radar
Okay,
thing.
all right.
He has no interest in the radar.
Okay.
None, which I will cover in a minute.
Um,
But yeah, so
someone who, and I know you ride horses, but I wanted to make sure that community was represented too, because they stress a lot about non-vehicular traffic on the roads.
yes, that's true. I could speak with Marie Lenartz because she pushes a stroller through town. And I'm thinking of people who walk through town a lot.
Yeah, is there anybody
who
that rides
runs.
horses in this vicinity, like?
Other than us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of people.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering, but I
Okay.
guess you also ride, so maybe that's enough, but I wondered about Murray and Denise.
Yeah, I don't think they go through town very often because
Okay.
it's too busy.
And then the only other, well, the cabanas, they'll want to be asked, they will probably, I don't know how busy they are, if they're gonna want to commit, but it
But
probably
but
should
again,
be
it's
asked.
not just the town events, I mean, they go all the way around.
They will go all around this
Yeah.
intersection, but I think they have a vested interest,
We
so,
get quite a few down. Out of
Yeah.
there as well. So are we just limiting it to their town?
no, we're just limiting this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So just because I stepped in this.
Yeah,
in the,
right.
you know, and I think if you prioritize one business owner, you have to ask for sand, you have
Right.
to ask the
Well, that was
store.
where I was
like,
heading.
So,
Yeah.
and this group, it sounds like it's kind of a strategic planning. Like, I think looking at all of the businesses that are here in the center of town and like letting them know, hey, this is happening.
Mhm.
There will be opportunities for input, or, you know,
Right.
please keep us posted.
Yeah,
You know, these are the point people.
sure.
But I don't know, I don't know, I feel like asking one person over any of the others would get really.
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah, I don't
point.
want to be seen as discriminating.
I totally see that point.
Yes.
And I just know, just in general, because of parking, that is a huge thing. Just out of curiosity, is there anybody, I'm sure the Historic District Commission is up and running, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Your chair, okay, well, that's good, because honestly, I think, you know, then when you think about one thread that ties this whole. Sorry, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of you.
No, that's okay. Well, not many people are, and starting this month, I plan to start putting things in the news Temple newsletter and things like that, and start building awareness and promoting it. And
And I think that actually from that standpoint, that's a real important connection
Yeah.
from your position on that.
Yeah,
That as chair of the HDC, that I think that might be a really relevant.
good point. Thank you. Yeah.
the only other person who has expressed an interest in getting involved in this particular topic was Nate Sartell at the forum that we had last spring.
He's on the HDC.
Yeah, so I don't know if you might want to ask him too, because he had some ideas. He sent a bunch of follow-up information. And that would make 5 if he's willing to do it, but it was just suggestions. I was, yeah.
No, those are great suggestions. Yeah, I'll follow up with Nate.
I think he would be really good and involved.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, and then the next piece is the radar grant that we have not applied for yet because the chief doesn't feel that radars have any effect. And I've spoken with Bill Azell on this several times. And he was supposed to talk with the chief at the last police board meeting, but didn't have a chance. So I contacted James Gilbert at DOT, who is the person in charge of the radar grants, and asked him for recommendations on radar companies to contact to see if we can get data on how effective radars are. So I spoke with both of them yesterday. They both sent me a lot of information. There are various types of radars. The most common is the ones that, you know, you have one that says speed limit and it's got lights around it. You have another one that says this is the speed, this is your speed. But there's a new one that has come out, and I don't know when it came out, but it's called a covert radar. And the way it works is you have it on a stretch of road, where you have one sign that says this is the speed limit. Later on, you have a second sign, this is the speed limit. And on the telephone pole, there's a radar that captures just the type of vehicle, the speed, I forgot what else, but it captures a few things. It does not capture license plates or anything like that. It doesn't hint at, invasion of privacy. And then it has there's a third speed sign. And so the towns that have bought this radar, this covert radar, generally place a police officer after the third one. And they can get the data from the covert radar, and they can see how fast that person was going. They can pull them over and they say, this is how fast you were going. I'm writing you a ticket. So apparently the police departments that have been using this have found it extremely effective, because someone's doing something wrong. They've been warned 3 times. They haven't changed their behavior. You're getting a ticket. It's only when the money hits, they have to pay a ticket, that does it make an impact. But then word gets around that there's, you can't speed in those areas, and the speeding goes down.
I think it also, they look for the types of vehicles. Is it trucks that are doing this?
Yes.
Is it like SUVs? Is it BMWs?
Yeah, I don't know if I think they just do passenger cars. They don't break it down to models. But they can say, if it's the really large trucks or if it's delivery trucks, because that delivery truck piece has been a real problem.
Yeah, sure.
So there's all of that. So anyway, I'm pulling that together. Both of those people that I spoke with yesterday they sent me a lot of information, but they're still pulling together a lot more. So I plan to put something together, pass it by Bill, and I'm happy to share it with the committee on how effective these types of things can be. The other thing to keep in mind is, in addition to the radar grant, we can apply for something. We can apply for a grant to pay overtime for a police officer. So if we get the radar grant, then we can get the overtime pay for a police officer. And then they could be put in those strategic spots to pull people over and hopefully give tickets out.
That's it. Get something out there.
Staff, yeah.
Well, yes, because I know they're very short-staffed, but if you have overtime pay that doesn't come out of the town, then they're more likely to do the overtime.
And it would be, I would think that it would be, the police presence. Not 24 hours, obviously, maybe certain times of the day.
Mhm.
The evenings.
Right, well, and the great thing about the radar is it captures when most of the speeders are, so that you would know exactly when to put an officer there for a 2 or 3 hour period.
For the record.
Right. So they have all that data. So yeah, once I finish pulling all that together, I'll share it with all of you, and then we can discuss.
And did you hear from Bruce Colburn about the radar grants? Because he emailed me about it, and I just said he should talk to you.
No, I want to talk to him about the HDC and Historical Society anyway, so.
Okay.
And he and I
just
have had
checking.
conversations about that before. Okay,
just
yeah,
checking on radar.
yeah.
Is he concerned about it, or?
He was concerned that we don't have the authority to buy one without a vote at town meeting. And I said I felt that Lillian was going through all the proper channels, but that she was a better resource than I was. So
Got it, okay.
I
Yeah.
just referred him to her.
Yeah, and Bill Lizelle and I did talk about that too.
Yeah. I said you'd spoken with the police chief and you'd spoken with Bill Lizelle and the select board, and yeah, he should follow up with you.
Okay, well, I'll follow up with him. Thank you.
Yep, sure.
Great, well, thank you for all of your work on that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's frustrating, but I know we'll get somewhere.
Back on the other grant, does the select board have to appoint these committee members? I would think that they do, right? Who?
I don't know. I have to talk to Bill about that.
Yeah, I would ask Bill.
Yeah, the letter did not indicate that.
I think the select board maybe has to vote to accept the grant as well.
Well, they were the ones who submitted the proposal.
Yeah, but I think they still have to formally vote. I talked to Bill about it.
Okay.
I think they might have to vote to accept the grant. And then they probably have to appoint the members to
Okay.
this committee,
Okay. All right.
because it is a fairly large sum.
13,000. It's 13,000.
Yeah, so I don't know how the money comes in, but if the money just goes directly to SWRPC, or if it's they send us a bill and then it gets paid, but you'll want to work that process out with Peter Allen,
Okay,
because
he's the treasurer.
he's the treasurer, yeah, and if any
Okay.
money is coming and going, he'll wanna,
Okay,
he's gotta be involved in that in some way.
okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Shall we move to subcommittee updates?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay. So Keith, you would be first up with if there's any update with AV equipment.
There is actually, Bill sent an email to me the other day to say that the problem in the town hall is fixed now.
Okay.
I also updated them to the latest patches and everything else, so they
Thank
seem to
you.
be- Yeah, I'm going to show Bill. You have to go into the cabinet occasionally, because if it goes into a lock position, you can't just hit the power switch. You have to go in and pull the power off it completely. Wait for 30 seconds, plug it back in. It's like with any computer.
Right.
That usually solves 99 of all the problems. So, but that's it.
Did you have to reach out to Kevin?
I called him just to let him know that it happened,
Okay,
and he called me back. It's nice, but it was like a courtesy call. It wasn't a charged.
but we're not getting, yeah, okay, great,
Because I gave him information at the same time, so we can charge him back. So,
yeah.
And we have putting the welcome booklet online is slated for the spring of 2024.
Yep,
No new updates there.
no,
And the donor is still willing to spend up to $500 to print that
Okay.
once it's ready.
great,
so written
so-
update. So the donor is what?
Willing to spend up to $500 to print copies that could be available. I think the intent was like in the town hall for new residents or existing residents who, might need that kind of a booklet, but just, I think it's really for newer residents.
yeah, we have like 10 copies, I want to say, floating around somewhere at the library
So he said.
that are loaner copies.
So he said, he donor.
A donor.
And then the store has one, the town office has one, I think the police station has one. I think they have one over at the Birchwood. The food pantry has one, maybe the church fellowship hall too. Yeah,
Okay,
I think there's 10 copies floating around.
okay. So I do think it's a nice gesture.
There's something happening on the screen there.
Allow the smart device.
Somebody being you?
So, it could.
Thanks, Keith.
I mean, I think when people are moving to town, it can be so overwhelming.
Yeah.
All the things you have to do that it could be nice to like flip through something like, oh yeah, so.
Yep.
I think we, let's give it a shot and see if, do they go like hot cakes? Do we get feedback? Do they, do we still have however many copies that they print?
So are they, the donors, are they thinking that it would be one that we would gift and not get back?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
I think that's.
because
the
they're
intent.
binders, they're not like,
Could we print them differently though? Like get them spiral bound or something, or even
I mean, I can see what the
stapled?
cost is.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh.
Yeah, I
see.
can't imagine that. I don't know if somebody would really need to keep
They
it.
become
Okay.
outdated quickly. too.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's, at least in the binder, they're so cumbersome that
Yeah,
you don't want to have something that big that you don't really need.
yeah, I mean, we'll see what the reformatted version looks like
Okay,
when she's done, but,
It
yeah,
seems like
a
something that,
longer copy, I think.
yeah, you'd like to flip through it, then give it back, and then if you need to refer back to it, you could go online.
Yeah, yeah, because she's
Something
gonna
to be
format
done.
it so it can be online,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
That would be really valuable, you know, definitely keep getting rid of. paper.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, I know, me too.
Okay, so other business, it is 8 o'clock, so I think we can do this fairly quickly. Increasing the subscription to e-news.
Yep, that all was done, since our November meeting, the notifications went out, the website was updated, I think Lillian, you had checked it also to
Mhm.
another set of eyes on it. So I guess, I did ask Carol if she could look at new subscribers. We gave her a date range and she said yes.
Oh,
So
good.
that can be whenever we're ready to do that,
Okay,
we can.
Yeah, the only other piece that we had discussed was the possibility of having a mailer go out and maybe have some kind of competition, or not really competition, but some kind of drawing for some gift certificates from people in town, businesses.
Yeah.
To encourage people to sign up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know about everyone else, but I haven't approached any businesses
I
in
haven't
town. It's
either.
just been too,
Yeah, well, what I had done a couple months ago, I'd have to find what my email was. I
Yeah.
sent everyone a list
Yeah.
of businesses in town. I thought we could just discuss it quickly in a meeting to say, okay, you know, I'll take these 2 or 3 or something like that. And if we each took a handful, you know, 2 or 3 each, then we could have that number. Not everyone is going to say yes. And so if we each got one business to give us a, you know, small gift certificate, then we could say, you know, this is part of the drawing.
Yep.
and do we want to, I'm just thinking about, town meeting and elections and everything. Do we want to try to do it like now, like as that's happening, or do we want to wait until after?
I would wait because
yeah, maybe
people are,
town meeting, yeah, maybe if we have a postcard, we can
Oh.
have them to hand out at town meeting.
yeah, that would be a good
And
idea.
then mail them as well.
Mhm.
But we have to remember that we only have generally 150, 200 people show up at town meeting.
Right,
Yeah, I would still mail them door to door.
Unless you're doing
Yeah.
outside again.
and probably the people who are at town meeting are signed up for.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, probably, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking more,
Yeah, that's true.
That's have it on the chairs, you know?
Yep,
yeah, we could put it on the chairs. I was thinking more of after the election, when people have a little bit more bandwidth and they can pay
I was-
attention to what's
yeah.
going on.
Yeah, yeah,
Because otherwise it just gets lost in everything else.
yeah.
so I wonder maybe on our next agenda in the February meeting, we can divvy up the businesses to talk to.
I'll
we could-
resend the list.
Okay, I mean, we could do it now. I'm just thinking, I know with all the school stuff, I feel like probably a lot of us may be focused on
Mhm.
that.
Right,
So
right.
do you feel okay?
Oh,
waiting
yes,
till-
oh, yes,
Okay.
yes. I would rather wait a little bit and have it done well and have people respond.
Okay,
I'll look up
Yeah.
that email too, and you'll be sending that email. Will not be able to be attending next week.
the February meeting. And Christine, you won't either?
I'll be back on February 3rd.
Okay, so you can come on the 15th.
Yeah.
So we would have a quorum.
Should we skip the February meeting if
thought
we're
you
not
were
gonna have a
leaving.
quorum?
No, we will, because Vivian won't be here, but Christine.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, and great, Vivian, thank you again for writing the annual report. It's been
Yeah.
submitted.
Good,
So
I
It was-
saw that.
it was great to have it done.
That was,
Yeah.
believe me, I know. I literally spent all day yesterday on things I had to catch up on and everything, but then submitting all the facility reservations for the rec events and stuff like that. I mean, when it comes to those responsibilities, it is just, it's a lot, it's a lot.
Well, I appreciate you doing it,
So,
because when I
yeah.
saw Carol's email about having to put together those annual reports, it's like, oh, I think Vivian already did the CA.
And I
Yeah.
did, and I did our rec plan last
Yes.
month, and we approved it. like,
Yeah.
in December. It's like, that's the first time I've ever done that, but it was just like, it's such a.
It's such a relief to
Yes.
have it done.
Yeah, get on the planning.
Um,
Somebody else already. sent it in.
okay, any other business or other board or committee news that needs to be discussed here?
Not from me.
I could just give a quick plug for the HOP grant committee, just that, we had a few forums and the last one had the best turnout yet. And it was on the same night as, Conval school board meeting.
That's right.
So that was really interesting. But if people are interested in doing a focus group or a one-on-one interview, just contact the committee member. They're Lillian is our, is on the committee, so, you know, there's an option for you. So please do that.
Great, thank you.
Glad you remembered that.
Sorry, say what?
I'm just.
Thinking out loud.
All right, so just to reiterate the dates, our January Thursdays are busy, so next week, Thursday at Conval in the auditorium is the school board meeting with the 4 towns.
Are they streaming it as well? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay.
And then
Somewhere I heard they were not.
I kind of recall that too.
Probably.
That was.
Yeah.
They did the last one.
Big.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh, that's a good question.
I really.
Well, the next one is just for the 4 towns, right?
Yeah,
But still, oh, I know, it's not
Anyone
that big.
right?
Yeah.
that's gotta be a
Oh,
public.
what are you gonna do? Check our license
That's right.
on the way in?
Yeah.
Make sure that we're from Temple?
Yeah,
We might ask.
I
They can't look at an ID.
Yeah, no.
Of that.
oh, right.
Does that make sense? It's just here.
Mhm.
They streamed the last one in the
They did?
theater. They did.
Yeah, they
'cause
did.
I watched it.
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
did too.
why.
I watched some of it, not all.
There was something that came across. Shame on them. That's my duty.
I know. A certain number of people who don't. Not that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, and sorry, go ahead, I didn't
Oh,
mean to
yeah.
interrupt. So the following Thursday, the 25th at 7 PM in the town hall, that's our Temple Town School conversation. And then our next CAC meeting is Thursday, February 15th.
Are you gonna offer a Zoom option for the 25th meeting?
If we offer a Zoom option, it would be watching but not commenting.
Yep.
Okay,
Well, there's no commenting on any of them.
right,
That's being checked off because it's used.
that's right.
And it's squared away with the town, with Carol, right?
Yes, Lillian, you got it on the calendar, the 25th?
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
is there a time frame that you have to do that before it's announced? Like,
It's usually 24 hours for meetings, but I think
This
for
is
a
just a
conversation,
conversation.
not.
This is-
She'll have it out before.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have it out very quickly. Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I make the motion.
Second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm okay tonight. So we are.
Was I supposed to call you today about?
No, you weren't supposed to call me, but we are supposed to touch base.
Okay.
Anytime. You
Okay.
said after the Wednesday meeting.
Yeah, so, Russell said he was going to reach out to you, and then we kind of talked more, and we're like, I don't think Jessica's the place to start, I think Laura is the place
Yeah.
to start. So Russell's gonna talk to Laura first,
Okay,
and they're gonna come up with some plan to do some sort of bookkeeping.
okay.
And then just to try to keep stuff off your plate. And make it as easy as possible, so they'll come up with a plan to present to you and.
Okay.
You kind of say yes or no, that
Yeah,
this works or doesn't.
I mean, it's, the whole system is so weird.
I know, I said the same thing, I was like, I really think there should be some checks and balances here, and
Yeah, no, it
and
drives
she's
me
like, they
crazy.
don't do that. I'm
No,
like,
I mean,
okay.
like, I felt like it was pulling teeth. They were like, you need to write checks to the families in need. I'm like, you have to tell me their names in order for me to write the check.
I know.
Just like a half dozen times. I'm like, this is.
I know.
crazy.
I was like, I just submitted an $800 expense with Jessica Pay, but nobody approved
know.
it, like,
Well, and then Kyle's like, do you get everything approved? I'm like, with who?
yeah. That's what I tried to hammer that home and I very kindly, but
Yeah.
we need a process
Yeah,
here. So
right.
Russell said he would talk to
Okay.
Laura and he'll
Yeah.
talk to you and
That sounds
figure
great.
it out. I'm just trying to keep receipts
Yeah.
that I see, but I don't know if I'm seeing, and I don't know the donations. I have no
And
idea.
any receipts that I get, I attach to the QuickBook file, so there's like a record.
Yeah,
of that.
less worried about that, more about the money coming in. But
Yeah, that's
like,
all
I'm spending
down
money and I
here.
have no idea how much money's come in. Like, I don't wanna overspend.
Right.
So we need to get a handle on it.
Well, I think like, even after all the closet expenses, we have like $1,200.
Yeah, that's what Greg.
Then, somebody, there was $1,000 donation to the pastor